Yeah, I'm very excited for it. This trailer hit for me. I think Michael Keaton's right back in the pocket. And what's good about Michael Keaton is he is like 70 now, but Beetlejuice sounds like crap. He always did. And he looks old and weathered.
And the aging is okay because the
He looks
character's
great.
been sitting there the whole time. So even if he looks older, the character's going to look older.
He looks and sounds great. And Michael Keaton is such a smart actor. Like when he did the return as Batman in The Flash, like that was really the only good part of that movie. They didn't even do a good job of lighting him or anything like Tim Burton would do. He knew how to bring Batman back the right way. It wasn't like we were saying about Glen Powell. It wasn't just let me collect my paycheck and I'll put this mask on. He really did a good job bringing back the Batman we used to love. Now he's back with Burton for a character they created together. He is going to crush this. I am very confident. I know it's not a good idea to go in overhyped on sequels, but for this one, I'm with you. I'm very excited for this. I think we should go see this one. Hey, Lacey.
Hey, John.
Do you know what the juice is?
I'm afraid to ask.
The juice is loose. We're going to talk about Beetlejuice 2. Beetlejuice is the official title. We're going to talk about that trailer that just came out late last week.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of thoughts about it. I think you do too, and a lot more. So welcome everybody to Nerdy and Nice. This is TRB's Pop Culture Podcast. We're hitting you up with our thoughts on all the latest news in pop culture, movies, TV, entertainment, with a lot of other anything wrapped up in the world of pop culture, really swept up here in a fine little hour plus for you on this post-Memorial Day weekend nerd extravaganza. So first off, Lacey, how you doing? I want to ask you a question.
Okay. Ask me a lot of questions tonight.
If you had to choose between being Beetlejuice or being like Winona Ryder, like a human character that has to deal with Beetlejuice, which would you choose to be?
Winona Ryder.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
Beetlejuice is creepy. I could not.
I know, but he's just like around forever, and he gets to do whatever he wants. And like Beetlejuice, I envy that. Like he's trapped in a way in that little like model set.
Yeah.
But you just get like it's not like it's a hard code. It's like when people make their password. It's like, how do you free this guy? You just say his name 3 times. What the heck? So, but then once he's free,
sloppy,
he just has this like immortal freedom to him, and also then you sort of get to be like Michael Keaton, which is also kind of cool. But
he is very cool. I won't forget Michael Keaton though not getting the Oscar for Birdman, where he had the cards ready to go, and then he put them back. Ooh.
Yeah. But you know what's cool about Michael Keaton? He's from Pennsylvania. He's not the Hollywood type of guy. He doesn't look at what they do as like this big precious thing. Like when he did win his award, I think it was the Golden Globes. He like thanked his son, his best friend, who was his son and stuff. And I just there's something about Michael Keaton that's as successful as he's been for so long. He just seems like still a very like he gets it. He understands. He's down to earth, and I'm really rooting for that movie. So we'll talk about that later. But there's a lot to get into. So before I hand it over to you to get into our first segment, like all the news and stuff, did you catch that it sort of like slipped through the cracks in a weird way? But Spielberg has locked in a release date for his next big movie. And we're not exactly sure what it is, but David Koepp is writing it. And it's opening between the new Avengers and the new Star Wars in 2026. So that's going to be an absolutely insane month. The rumor is it's UFO based. Now, Spielberg's done a lot of alien stuff. What do you think about this? Do you think this is going to be like the next Jurassic Park, or do you think it's going to be like this one-off like war movie? Like Spielberg does a lot of things. What are you thinking with Spielberg here?
Remember when John Williams said he was retiring and then he said he was coming out of retirement? I think this movie is why he's coming out of retirement.
Oh, I thought that was for the last indie. So he is doing more?
So he said he was retiring, and then he was like, "Just kidding, I'm not really retiring. I don't know what I'd do with my time." I think it's because he's
Oh,
doing this movie.
man, Spielberg, Kep,
If
and
so,
Williams.
he's already doing it, I guarantee it. He's already writing a theme or something.
I hope it is like a next, like, new sort of IP thing because
There's a lot going on, though. I mean, that's a bold choice. The studio must be banking on the fact that it's Spielberg and it's something very cool because they're gonna sandwich that in the middle of Marvel and Star Wars. Like, that's bold. You're going out swinging. You're not sticking it in January or, October or wherever.
right.
They're doing summer blockbuster, so it has to be something, like, over the top.
Yeah, it's being referred to as a new original event film. That's the quote.
Mhm. Of his
Um,
own creation.
yeah, his own creation. And the report says it was Gizmodo. The report says that the rumor is that it's about UFOs. Now he's done first Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Jeez. Obviously Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, E.T. Like Spielberg has an Alien trilogy already, you know? So that'd be
Mhm.
interesting. Oh, War of the Worlds, that's sort of, is that Alien a little bit, right? I don't know.
It
It's
is
yeah,
kinda.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this is, but just knowing like it's 2024 and we're talking about Steven Spielberg is about to launch some new big event thing, that makes me feel good. I don't know why. Just
I'm
does.
pretty pumped, and I want to go back to the movies again. Like, I miss going to the movies, but I haven't found the movie that has forced me to do that. You know what I mean? Whereas Top Gun: Maverick, I was like, "I'm there." And I
Oh,
wanna go it's coming back to theaters, John. We gotta go see it again.
I do have to say you're welcome for introducing you to Glen Powell on the big screen. I have to say.
You didn't, though. I've already been through this. He's been in a lot of things that I've liked before being in Top Gun: Maverick.
I didn't even know who he was until Top Gun
I
Maverick.
knew long before Top Gun: Maverick.
Mhm. All right.
So I introduced you to Glen Powell.
I got you into Top Gun though, so
You
we can
didn't.
do
I
about
have
it.
seen Top Gun. It's just this one's better than the original Top Gun.
I
You like the
dragged you
sweaty,
to
close
the theater.
staring, like, kind of, are they gonna kiss, aren't they gonna kiss Top Gun?
Mhm.
That's the
Mhm.
one you like. Danger Zone.
Danger Zone's in this one too.
I know, but
Anyway,
it's not used as often as the first one.
all Top Gun is good Top Gun, Gillerin.
It's
All right.
true, but
Listen,
there's a lot of other stuff happening.
there is.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Enough, I get the point.
Which I feel like this first story is kind of a joke in the sense that I know you're not happy about it, which is Taylor Swift is reportedly meeting with Kevin Feige to discuss an MCU role. She's been rumored so far to be playing Dazzler in the new Deadpool Wolverine movie, which is done by Ryan Reynolds, who's her best friend's husband, Blake Lively. Um, is her best friend, and Ryan Reynolds is her best friend's husband. But anyway, what are your thoughts, John? Would you watch a Taylor Swift MCU project? So the rumors are she could be Dazzler or she could be going for something else, which my understanding is it's a character called the Phantom, which is a like secret agent from the 1950s or 60s in Las Vegas.
Hmm. Um, I hope this is just a rumor. I mean, I don't know. I mean, she's good at acting humble, so she has talent there.
Oh my
Um,
god. I was going to say this girl can do so much in her life, but one thing she can't do is act. She's been in movies before. Acting is not her thing,
it
and that's
wasn't
fine.
she in Cats?
She was in Cats and she was in, like, Valentine's Day with her then boyfriend, Taylor Lautner, where she plays, like, a character that's, like, this young girl type character where
She
she's, like,
dated
giddy
another person
cheerleader.
named Taylor?
Yeah, Taylor
Of
Lautner
course of
from
course she did.
Twilight.
Jeez. That the other guy from Twilight, right.
Yes,
Um,
the werewolf one.
I don't know about this. I saw an article today about something about Dua Lipa getting a role in some movie too, and it's just like,
She was in a movie. She was in that, The one from the oh my god, what am I'm blanking on. She was on that secret agent movie that just came out that did terrible. Argyle. She was in that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this big wave of just like non-actors getting roles and things, and it's just sort of like, there's a lot of actors out there that are really good that we don't know about that could probably do a way better job in this stuff. But these studios are, I'm not saying they're desperate, but they're, if they need people in the theaters. What a better way than getting Taylor Swift in there? But I think long term that's a bad thing. So I don't like this because I feel like she's everywhere already, and now if you put her in a big IP, it's like that's another spot that people that maybe are a little sick of her um have to avoid. I hope this is just one of those rumors. I don't know. I really don't know. But then the other part of me is like, put her in everything so that everybody just at some point is just like, enough. Oh God. Yeah.
I understand that. I hear you. I mean, I think there's a point in any popular pop star, movie star, any type of person in a creative space that is just everywhere all the time. Everybody gets sick of seeing them, and I think that is happening with her. Um, it has for a couple months, I would say. People are starting to make that turn. It happened with Jennifer Lawrence, unfortunately. It happened with like Anne Hathaway. It People get weird about it, but that being said, I don't think Taylor Swift is a good actress. I agree with you that I think there are plenty of actresses that can do an amazing job, and I don't think people should just be handed things just because they could bring money with them or bring popularity of things that have nothing to do with Marvel. I understand her getting a guest spot in a movie if like her friend is doing it and they want her to have a spot in the movie as a cameo. That's one thing, but giving her an entire role is different. Now, I know
I,
she is doing her own feature film, but she's directing it. I don't believe she's acting in it. Um, so I don't know. It just to me it feels like a cash grab. It doesn't feel like, hey, her passion is in acting.
yeah, I agree.
Um, but in other news with Marvel, they say that the success of X-Men 97, Marvel Studios is now looking to ramp up development on its own live-action X-Men movie as Michael Lesslie has been tapped to pen the script. Have you watched X-Men 97? I haven't gotten it to you yet. It's on. You have?
I've watched a couple episodes, not all of it yet, but I really enjoyed what I've seen so far. It has
Oh, cool.
captured the essence of the original animated series, just with they did a good job of walking that line between making sure it feels and looks similar to the old one, but updated and polished enough that it has a modern look to it. But the essence of the characters and the relationships feel old school again, and it doesn't feel forced in certain elements of today's climate. It's just, I think it was just overall really well done, and I'm excited to finish it out. It's just hard to go through a whole show sometimes because you get the kids and stuff. So when I get to dial in and knock off an episode, I certainly do, and I've enjoyed the few that I've seen so far.
That's so cool. I definitely have to check it out. But yeah, this is big news for all these people that do love it, including you. Um, and I think people want to see a refresh on X-Men. X-Men
Yeah,
First Class was a good kind of refresh, and then it went to a place that got weird. Nobody liked it. Before that, with the Bryan Singer stuff, people liked the originals, but then they once again got weird. I'm interested to see how they're going to take a spin and make this new and fresh because people love the X-Men. And I
yeah.
think they've just kind of been dropping the ball with it a little bit until this show.
It's I the X-Men is cherished by fans because it's sort of like you got to think about it. Like in 2000 when it came out, it sort of restarted like the whole superhero movies can be good thing, because what was coming before that, like in 97 it was Batman and Robin, that really bad
Yeah.
Batman movie with George Clooney. Superman had been
But it
gone for a
had
long time.
great soundtrack though.
Did it?
Kiss from a Rose.
That's Batman Forever. That's the third one.
Oh yeah, you're right. Never mind.
Yeah.
It had nothing.
Yeah, no, but Superman had been gone for a long time. There haven't been really good superhero movies through the 90s. I mean, I love The Crow, but that was 93, 94. 2000, when the X-Men hit, it was so good. Then you got Spider-Man in 2002, all the other X-Men movies, and then all of a sudden the MCU takes off with Iron Man in 2008. Like the first X-Men movie did what 1989's Batman did, was like you can bring these very cartoonish superhero characters to live action and still make it feel like it's a superhero thing. And that was such an important movie. So I think, X-Men in the comics, in animated series, and live action, people have loved all of it. And now we see, we'll talk about it later in the trailers with that last Deadpool one, but Hugh Jackman back for one more rodeo. He's like 55 years old now, 56 years old. Clearly there needs to be a new Wolverine. So I love that we're seeing him. But I'm also like eager to see like who's the next Wolverine. Who
You think
we
they're
gonna...
gonna bring someone brand new in?
Yeah. I think they're gonna
Interesting.
do a whole reset for that, sort of like what DC's doing with Superman and their stuff. But Michael, my question is Michael Lesslie. I'll admit, I'm not super familiar with him. He's a UK screenwriter. He wrote the most recent Hunger Games, which I think got sort of mixed reviews. I
I
believe
haven't seen it, and I'm a big Hunger Games fan.
it didn't do great. I don't know if that's because of the Rachel Zegler thing. Like she sort
I
of
think
had...
it's just because it didn't have. It felt once again like a cash grab. Like Suzanne Collins, who wrote the book, it was like, I'm gonna go back to the prequel of
Oh,
this, and it's like,
Harry Potter movies that weren't as good or whatever.
right. So it's
Yeah.
the story of how President Snow became President Snow.
Oh, well,
So
yeah.
it's like basically one big book of like Easter eggs of like, hey, remember when Katniss did this thing? This is what this it came from, and this is what happened.
He's hit or miss. Like he wrote the bad Assassin's Creed movie a few years ago.
I didn't even know there was an Assassin's Creed movie.
Neither did anyone else. It made $50 million. But then he did Macbeth with Michael Fassbender, which was pretty good. And The Pigeon Tunnel is his highest rated thing, which came out last year, which is a documentary. So I'm not sure how I think about it. We'll see. It's still very early in the process, but I love the X-Men and I'm glad they're rebooting it. I do trust Kevin Feige still. I just hope that the X-Men get treated right and don't get treated as a small cog in this big Marvel machine. I hope the X-Men really get a front and center because, like you say, everyone loves the X-Men.
Mm-hmm. So you like the X-Men. How do you feel about the Avengers?
The Avengers, I think I'm all set with. I'll always take Robert Downey Jr. coming back for sure, but
Mhm.
I don't know. Why do you ask?
I'm sorry to tell you this, John. Marvel sets Vision series for 2026 with Paul Bettany to star and Star Trek Picard EP Terry Matalas. Matalas? That's got to be his name. As showrunner. So Paul Bettany's coming back. He's going to play Vision again. You said you were all set with the Avengers. Will you watch this series or have you had enough?
I probably won't watch this series. I think the last Marvel show I watched all of was either WandaVision or Loki season 1. I didn't watch the Captain America one. I didn't watch Loki season 2 yet.
There's
What was
just
the
so
other one?
much, and I think that's the problem they're having overall
Yeah.
with the kind of Avengers timeline Marvel stuff is there's so many different pieces of this story that are being told all at once that's why you're getting Bob Iger saying, "Hey, we're slowing it down." So they
Yeah.
say that, but then they announce this show, which is a weird step for me in the scheme of like what characters I would want to see, but it has to be playing into a bigger picture of things. But I can't help but wonder, is the audience going to follow that path? Because
I
they
agree with
haven't
you.
so far.
Did you like WandaVision and the whole thing with
I liked WandaVision. I didn't watch Doctor Strange, where Wanda goes crazy mad and like kills everybody,
Oh,
including
right. I
John
didn't either.
Krasinski and everything. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't watch that one. Um, I haven't watched the next season of Loki yet. It's on my list to watch, but I've also heard that it has a very sad ending. And you know me and sad endings. I tend to avoid them. Yeah, I couldn't get into the Marvels. I tried to watch Captain Marvel and I did not like it at all. I didn't like the story of the character. I didn't like Brie Larson in it, and I think Brie Larson's great. I just don't like her as Miss Marvel or Captain
Yeah.
Marvel, not Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel. I couldn't get into it. So it's like this whole phase that they're in right now, I just haven't found a character that I've really latched onto as like, this is the character I care about. Except
Yeah.
Hawkeye. I loved Hawkeye.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was
I liked WandaVision. I thought it was well done, clever, unique,
unique. Yeah.
Yeah. Jinx, buy me a pizza. Um, the Agatha thing, I guess, that's still happening. That even I feel like was a sort of gut reaction to like that viral moment about that song and like Catherine Hahn and how she sort of hijacked that show because she was so good. I don't know how that's
She
gonna
did.
land, to be honest.
She did hijack that show.
And she's great. I love Catherine Hahn. Her and Step Brothers is one of the funniest performances, honestly.
She's also
Um,
fabulous in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days as
yeah,
one of
she
the
is good in that.
friends.
She's good in every. She's really
When
just
she
good.
plays the therapist and she's like, Benjamin,
Yeah,
what? And she's got the big like Coke bottle, like glasses. Oh, she's like, why don't you go to his house?
she
And
is
Kate
good.
Hudson's like, what? And she's like, oh, so good.
She is really good. But then Vision's in that in WandaVision. Agatha's in that. So now they're doing an Agatha and a Vision show off of WandaVision. It's like I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's a lot.
It's post Endgame, and I understand we're getting the Avengers back in some capacity with Secret Wars and whatever they're gonna do with the whole Kang thing.
Tony, please
Uh,
come back.
yeah, because what was the name of that actor who got in trouble who's not gonna play Kang anymore?
Yeah,
Jeez,
he's
I
not
forgot his name.
Jonathan Majors. He's not that important.
Yeah, Jonathan Majors. So I don't know what the future of the Avengers we know is because if
They're saying
like I
it's the
was
new bad guy in Deadpool and Wolverine is going to take the mantle from Jonathan Majors. That's the prediction.
that's fine. I guess my thing is though, like Vision is one of these old Avengers from this last era. If they're not bringing them back, then this is sort of like that analogy I make where you're at this party and it's amazing, but then all of a sudden you look up and it's like 1 a.m. and there's 3 people left, and you're like, what the hell am I still doing here? So I don't know. I know there's a lot of Marvel fans who are digging all the stuff, so I'm sure they're going to be tuned into it. But I need to figure out where these old Avengers are going if they're going to still roll with them. Like, is this Vision series going to have any impact on the future, or is this just sort of they're doing a Vision series because Paul Bettany is awesome? I
It's
got
in
to
his
see where the
contract
Avengers
that
are
they
at.
owe him one or something.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see.
It does seem like kind of a weird choice with all the characters that they've brought in and ones that they haven't even touched yet. You have to remember that the materials they're pulling from the comic books, they have so many characters they have never
And
even brought up.
you're going to make a Vision series, but you're not going to get a Han Solo series going. Like, what are you doing?
I don't know. Disney's making some choices, and when they say they're slowing down, but then give Vision a series, it's a little weird to me. But you know who can have all the series and all the movies and any opportunity he wants? Glen Powell. So we're back to talking about my boy Glen Powell. For once, I will let you call him my boy. He's doing a lot
He's
of
our boy
interviews.
at this point.
I know. He's doing a lot of interviews with Hitman coming out from Richard Linklater on Netflix, which I can't wait to watch. And in these interviews, a lot of interesting tidbits is coming out, including that he was offered a role for the new Jurassic World. Also offered a role included Jennifer Lawrence. So the two of them, which by the way, could you imagine a movie with the two of them?
Oh, jeez.
Oh my God. It would be the most funny and hottest movie I've ever seen in my life.
Well, he already did a movie with Sydney Sweeney, so
Jennifer Lawrence is hotter than Sydney Sweeney, if we're being honest.
no.
Yeah. Jennifer Lawrence has the better personality, and I find personalities more
Yeah, but
attractive.
Sydney Sweeney's just so talented.
I wish people knew that every time you're saying talented, you don't actually mean talented. That you
I
mean
do
something
think she's talented. I do, and I like her whole vibe. I like her whole personality. I like everything.
Yeah, I'm
about her.
sure the vibe is exactly what you like about Sydney Sweeney, you and everyone else.
Can I like
Um,
all of the parts of Sydney Sweeney?
But anyway, Glen Powell revealed that he turned down an offer to star in the next Jurassic Park, which is interesting because they're kind of trying to Chris Pratt him. Did you notice that lately? They're like, we're going to give you any role you want, Glen
He's
Powell.
getting a little, he's getting a little pratted. Yeah, good call.
He said, quote, I'm not doing that movie because I read the script and I immediately was like, my presence in this movie doesn't help it. And the script's great. Love that little throw in at the end. It's great. It's just not right for me. It's not you, it's me. That's what he told Jurassic World. I'm going to call bananas and say that this script is terrible. And that is why him and Jennifer Lawrence said, nah, dog, I'm going to pass on that and do other things. And then in the same moment this week, Rupert Friend from Obi-Wan Kenobi and also Pride and Prejudice, fun fact, John, joins the new Jurassic World movie. So Glen Powell was like, nah, I'm good. And Rupert was like, I'll take it. And he's starring with Scarlett Johansson. So, John, your thoughts on the new Jurassic World movie?
I tweeted about Glen Powell's quote last week, and I said it was a perfect answer. It was like
It really was.
Class. And I said he seems to be doing all the right things to win fans over, but in an earnest way. Like he showed up to his Hitman premiere with his parents, and they were like jokingly holding up signs saying like "Don't make Glen happen," and he
Stop
just
trying to
seems
make
to be.
Glen Powell happen. Yeah.
I have this fear that Glen Powell, we're gonna find out he's like Army Hammer and he's like a cannibal or something.
Stop. No.
Because
stop.
No, because he just do perfect.
He's
so
been going to
tired of
school too. In between roles, he's like going back to school and like getting like a doctorate or something.
I hope, without getting any more descript, I hope he's small. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm glad he turned down this movie because I have thought the Jurassic Park movies have been bad since. No offense to Joe Johnston, legend, but since even the Spielberg one, like I think the only good, legit to me, the only good Jurassic Park movie is the first one.
I agree with you there, and I can't believe that they've taken easily one of the best movies of all time and beat it into the ground.
Beat the death out of it.
And then had Chris Pratt run over it with his motorcycle. Like,
do we let's recap the canon Jurassic Park world for a second. So it went
I stopped watching after they put them in cages and were doing like the black market bidding. I totally was like, I'm out.
So that movie, yeah. So that was like the second one,
yeah,
of the Jurassic Worlds. But
yeah,
so Jurassic Park, this guy wants to create this theme park that have dinosaurs.
Spare no expense.
He brings these people in to vet it and make sure he's being ethical and all that stuff, and it all goes haywire. One of the greatest movies ever made. Steven Spielberg, David Koepp, John Williams,
puppets,
Universal, amazing. Yeah, Phil Tippett, yeah, all the CG breakthroughs that led to the prequels being made for Star Wars. Love it, classic, great movie. Then you flash forward to the most recent ones, and they retcon the whole thing, where it turns out John Hammond had a partner the whole time. We never met him, never heard of him. And this guy got involved.
Wait, what?
Yes, this is the canon Jurassic Park story. Okay? So this guy had a daughter who was terminally ill, or she died. So he got involved because he wanted to see if he could clone his daughter and bring his daughter back via a clone. This is the Jurassic Park canon story.
When was that decided?
In the second or third Jurassic World. That's the story.
With the black market thing?
Yeah.
Did I miss that? I just remember how bad that movie was, and I was like, I can't believe I made it past Claire.
That's canon Jurassic Park now.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Now that you
I
bring that
know.
up.
And they made it, and they released it, and it made a crap ton of money because Jurassic World people just want to see dinosaurs on the TV screen, on the big screen.
All I'm hearing right now is that recorder sound, someone playing Jurassic Park on a recorder.
Like the Titanic theme does. Oh, I played that was my first instrument, the recorder.
It was everybody's first instrument.
Yeah, but I was getting the ladies with hot cross buns back in like 3rd grade.
Okay, you weren't getting ladies in 3rd grade. Can we calm it down?
I bet Glen Powell was though, so screw him.
Glen Powell can do whatever he wants.
So I guess my closing thoughts on this one is I'm glad he didn't do it because I don't think these movies are going to be good, no matter who they get to involve. I think Gareth Edwards is directing it, so that's a good name.
Oh, well, I feel bad now for making fun of it because I do like Gareth Edwards.
I know, but I still don't know like what story they're going to come up with. Like I feel like if they came out, and they'll never do this because Spielberg made the sequel. If they came out and said, we are retconning all of Jurassic Park except the first one, and we're making another movie, and Gareth Edwards is directing it, I would be so fired up. But because all this other crap exists, it's hard for me to get excited for it. I have to be honest.
Do you know how bad the script has to be for Glen Powell and Jennifer Lawrence to say no? You know how much money they probably would have made?
I know.
That's how bad it has to be.
I know. And he
That's the
did say
thing.
something. Didn't he say something about he's not going to do cash grab movies? And
He was very cool in his interview. I believe it was with the Hollywood Reporter, where he said he's being more selective with his time, and he's doing a range of things, but he's not doing Marvel projects. He refuses to do anything Marvel, and he wants to do things that are worth his time, which I thoroughly appreciate. Because if you look at his like resume, what's the right word? I'm blanking on the right word.
Resume. Yeah.
I think there's like a film term that I'm blanking on, but
filmography.
Anyway, filmography. Thank you so much. Thank you. It was driving me nuts. His filmography of the movies that he's been in. He's been in so many different ones. I named him last week when we were talking about like Potato Peel Pie Society. He's been in Set It Up, which is a rom-com.
What?
Yeah. He's in a movie where he plays an American. His name's Malcolm. And he is engaged to Lily James. And then Lily James, she goes to an island, the island of Guernsey in England, off the coast of England, right after World War II, where like everything gets bombed and stuff. Because she gets written from a book club and she's an author. And so then she basically ditches Glen Powell, like kind of unbelievable. But then the other guy's kind of attractive too, so it makes sense. So then he shows up as the like big bold American being like, you know, I gave you a big fat ring. Why are you not with me? And then she breaks up with him. Spoiler alert.
So is it a period piece or something?
It is. I just said it's after World War II.
I don't. I always consider like the period pieces like ones before technology where people are wearing.
It's one of my favorite movies. Although I'm going to be honest, if I'm having a terrible day, like if I'm having a bad time and you walk into the room and I'm watching that movie, you know, I'm down. I'm at a low point. I'm trying to get back up. I love that movie. It's a comfort film for me.
What's it? Potato pancakes? What?
The Guernsey Literary Potato Peel Pie Society. He's also in Set It Up, which is one of my favorite rom-coms.
All right. Good stuff. Well, that's I guess we have to just start making a Glen Powell segment on the podcast.
I should just start a Glen Powell podcast. It's right there, the alliteration. The Glen Powell podcast.
Do it.
The Powell podcast.
Yeah.
The Powell Hour podcast.
The Powellcast.
Anyway, moving on.
Someone I also AKA Lacey Gillerin being blushing for an hour.
I haven't blushed recently. I don't know what came over me that episode. I have never experienced that in my life.
Yeah. But I also don't want to crap on Rupert Friend. Like he's a really good actor too. So I'm sure he'll do a great job with Gareth Edwards. But I think we're both seems to be. We
I
both
just
seem to
feel
be right
bad
now
because
checking out on Jurassic World.
if two of the biggest stars are saying, "Hey, the script's great, but it's not for me." It's like, ooh,
Hmm.
because you hear time and time again, people are like, "I read the script and I fell in love with it and I knew I needed to be a part of it." They all say that. So if someone's saying, "I read it and I just said not for me," like that's not a
Hmm.
good look.
Yeah. Yeah.
But speaking of me having a crush, this next person is someone I've had a crush on for a very long time, which is Steve Carell. And he's going to star in a new comedy on HBO from Bill Lawrence. And he is going to oh my God, going to be a father of a college student. And he's an author, and it's going to be a comedy series. And I can't wait. Steve Carell is the best when he's doing comedy. He is the best when he's funny. He got too serious. I don't like that. He left The Office and was like, I'm going to be a serious actor. And sure, some of his stuff was great, but it's like I can't take Will Ferrell doing serious stuff either. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like the Bill Murray thing.
Yep.
What's happening to my microphone? Anyway, but yeah, so it's Steve Carell, legend. You know, great comedies, great television work, especially with the U.S. version of The Office. So, yeah,
Never won an Emmy,
say,
by the way. Don't mean to cut you off. Never won an Emmy for Michael Scott.
that can't be true.
Never won one. He always lost to the guy from Big Bang, and it made me so angry because that show is not funny. I implore anybody to go online and look up that show without a laugh track. It is not funny. It is
I never
not.
liked Big Bang Theory.
Oh God, it's so bad. I
Yeah,
just offended someone somewhere, and I'm so sorry, but that movie is
it's all right.
that show is not funny. I think it's
Don't be
because I'm a nerdy person, and that show's like, look at how nerdy this person, dun-dun-dun," and you're like, no,
yeah.
I'm good.
I was trying to look up the awards that Steve Carell's won because I know for a fact he's given speeches at winning an award.
Golden Globes, not an Emmy.
Unbelievable.
He's never won an Emmy for Michael Scott. In the
But-
last year, he lost again to John Parsons or whatever his name is.
Jim Parsons, yeah.
Jim Parsons.
I think which by the way, side note, I always thought you know that that Mr. Rogers movie that Tom Hanks was in?
Yeah.
I always like as soon as I saw the cast picture of Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers, I thought it looked so weird. And I was like,
because it's Tom Hanks dressed as Mr.
yeah. So the geniuses at that studio were like, who's going to play the nicest man in television history? Let's get the nicest guy in Hollywood. That's perfect. And he looks weird. I didn't like it.
Did you see his text to his son this week, though? That was pretty hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Where he was like, can you please explain this argument? And he's like, wow, that seems like there's a lot of beef. Whose side are you taking? What's happening?
I always thought Jim Parsons would be a great Mr. Rogers because he can be a serious actor and he's done serious roles and he looks like a young Fred Rogers. I think that was a big misfire. I really think he would have crushed that role, but I just want to put that out there. So what are we talking about? We're talking about Steve Carell, a legend of TV comedy and one of the greatest show creators in history. Bill Lawrence, we're talking Scrubs, Cougar Town, Shrinking, Ted Lasso, Spin City. Like, he's had 5 massive television show hits. Like, aside from Chuck Lorre, Larry David, Bill Lawrence has to be on the Mount Rushmore of TV comedy series creators. And the fact that he's pairing up with Steve Carell on HBO for a brand new comedy series, this might be the most excited I've been for an upcoming comedy TV series in forever. I am very, very excited for this. I love Bill Lawrence, always been a fan of his work. And Steve Carell, I love. This is a perfect marriage for me. I can't see how this won't be good. So I am so pumped for this.
Yeah. So it's, quote, set on a college campus centering on an author's complicated relationship with his daughter. oh my God, Steve Carell being a dad with a daughter that like he can't get along with is going to be so funny. I wonder if they're going to try to make him the dad that like never understands and is like a little out of the like not hip.
Could be. We get a touch of that in Crazy Stupid Love when he's Emma Stone's dad.
And Space Force, was it? When that show on
Oh.
Netflix? I know, but he plays the dad character in that too.
That show
Was bad.
If I was Steve, are they still making that show?
I don't think so. I think it got canceled.
Holy cow, that show stunk. Wow, that was bad. Real bad. Anyway.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, Warner Brothers did pitch it as collectively they've been the center of some of the most iconic and successful shows in television history. When they're talking about the collaboration between Steve Carell, Bill Lawrence, and Matt Tarsis. I'm pumped.
People need to get pumped for the show. I
mean, Ted Lasso alone I would say Ted Lasso has become what you and I constantly talk about on TRB, which is what season 1 of The Mandalorian was for a lot of people with Baby Yoda. Like Ted Lasso is everywhere. I'm always able to gauge how popular something is. And I apologize in advance for using this reference, but I am. On what references are being made in a Stu Leonard's, the grocery store.
What is with the Stu Leonard's?
I'm telling you, because that tells me that the general population, including moms, dads, grandparents, know what that thing is because they wouldn't be advertising it. So like when Barbie was out last summer, they had a Barbie ice cream cone that was pink. And then before that, when Ted Lasso came out, they were selling the pink boxes of Ted Lasso shortbread. And I think they got in trouble because eventually they took the Ted Lasso down and they were just like, it's shortbread, but it was in like the pink box. I think they got a little cease and desist for HBO
like,
or something.
Get soccer coach shortbreads.
No, they had his cutout next to it.
Oh.
With Ted Lasso being like, thumbs up. And then it was like Ted Lasso's famous shortbread.
By the way, do you see Jason Sudeikis peddling Taco Bell now? And he's like, his whole thing is about like eating Taco Bell after midnight, whatever. I'm like, there's no chance 48-year-old Jason Sudeikis is eating Taco Bell after midnight.
If he is good for him.
Yeah, that's got to be rough on the body, though.
I guess so, but isn't he divorced? Like,
yeah,
maybe he's alone by himself.
Yeah, that's true. They're living that bachelor life.
I mean,
right. we did the TRB taco challenge on the Resistance broadcast, our Star Wars podcast, and we all tried to eat 12 tacos live on one
I think
show.
I got to 10.
I finished all 12.
I know you finished it, but I'm saying surprisingly, I think I got 9 to 10, and people were like disgusted.
You did great. Yeah,
people were disgusted.
But were you able to eat Taco Bell again after that? It took me a while.
I mean, I haven't had it in a while, like a long time, because I didn't have it until like before my pregnancy is when I had it. I stopped eating it like when I got pregnant, but people were pretty disgusted with me. And what the weird thing is I thought I was going to be so sick the next day, and I felt great. Like absolutely great. No stomach ache, no headache, no dehydration, no nothing. I felt fabulous. So we had all these
roll up to a 5K with like a Crunchwrap Supreme.
So all these people were like messaging us the next day being like, how are you guys doing? You guys in the bathroom all day? And I'm like, no, I feel fabulous.
Man.
I could take on the world.
Iron stomach. All right. Anything else in the news?
No, that's really it. So I guess it's trailer time.
Oh God, I love that movie.
The first one here, Lacey, is Beetlejuice. I think people probably know how I feel about it, so I'm going to toss to you first. I watched you watch this, but I didn't.
You did watch,
but I didn't see what you were watching. So you were like sort of saying things, and I was like, "Oh, she's at that part." But you laughed a lot, and I remember you saying it's really funny. So what's your takeaway on? We saw the teaser a couple weeks ago. This is the first full trailer. What are your takes on Beetlejuice. How do the returning characters look, sound, feel, and what's your overall take on what Tim Burton's bringing to the table here?
I love this. And I will admit, I was one of the first people being like, oh, they're making another one. Like, how is that ever going to compare to the original? But when Tim Burton worked with Jenna Ortega on Wednesday, I think he knew. He was like, that's it. I got to do another one. Like, she's perfect for this role because she immediately got this after she did that.
Right.
Yeah, it looks so funny, like witty. The costumes are amazing. Michael Keaton looks great. Like, even though it's been a while, it works. And I
Yeah.
know it's playing on that whole nostalgia thing, like, oh, remember this, kids? Which we've been getting a lot of. I think one of the most interesting articles I read recently was someone was pitching how basically this whole run of nostalgia kicked off with The Force Awakens. Like, the moment The Force Awakens happened and it made billions and billions of dollars, studios went, people love nostalgia, let's do this. And then now everyone's doing it. But
Yeah.
besides that, I love Jenna Ortega. Can't wait to see her in this. Love Michael Keaton. I think Winona Ryder looks great. I've been loving her in Stranger Things, so it's exciting to see her on the big screen again. I love the aspect that they're going to the underworld, or what's the word? Like the dead place. What's it
Yeah.
called? What's the lore? I hate that word. The lore of Beetlejuice. Like, where do they go? Afterlife? Is it the afterlife?
The Netherworld
Netherworld?
or the Neither World? Neither World.
Oh, well, I love that they're going to explore that and look into it and see what's going on.
Yeah.
It looks so kind of bright, colorful, vivid, and I feel like so many movies that we get now, no matter what it is, are so dim, grim. Like, I don't know, they look like the saturation in color's been sucked out of them, and I feel like this is one of those movies that, like, they could have gone that way, but they're not. Tim Burton saying,
Mhm.
"No, this is over the top ridiculous," and I'm all for it. Yeah, I loved it. I can't wait to see this. I'm pumped.
I'm with you, and I think sometimes when they try to do sequels to things too far removed from the original, it's hard to recapture the magic. And like a good example of that is Dumb and Dumber 2. I thought that was just such a bad movie to one of the best comedies I've ever seen in my life because they
Mhm.
waited too long, and you don't always, aside from the cast, you don't always get the same people involved. And with this one, I think this movie is going to be really successful because it's a sequel 35 years later, or what have you, 36 years later, but all of the major players are back, all of them. Because you have Tim Burton, Danny Elfman doing the music,
Mhm.
then you get Michael Keaton back as your lead still,
Mhm.
playing Beetlejuice.
Imagine if he won an Oscar for this.
Would be amazing.
Could you
I wish Michael
imagine?
Keaton won awards. Honestly, he's so good. But then you have Catherine O'Hara, who I absolutely love. She's back, and of course Winona Ryder, who I've had a crush on since I was like 6. Um, and then yeah, Jenna Ortega's great too. So to add her in, it's like they are adding a next generation, but this isn't one of those movies where it's like we're passing the baton on to the next thing, and we're gonna treat our legacy characters like crap. It's
Mhm.
no, this is Beetlejuice 2. And I and you're right about the look. It has a very Tim Burton feel to it. It looks like they just put out Beetlejuice a year ago, and now we're getting part 2. It looks very
Mhm.
connected. They even brought back the shrunken head guy,
Mhm.
and apparently guys we know who have worked on Star Wars that we've talked to, like, I think he tweeted about it. I think Brian Herring's involved with some puppeteering with this.
Love it.
Um, Nick Kellington, did some work.
Willem Dafoe's in it.
Willem Dafoe plays a new character in this. I'm very excited for it. This trailer hit for me. I think Michael Keaton's right back in the pocket. And what's good about Michael Keaton is he is like 70 now, but Beetlejuice sounds like crap. He always did, and he looks old and weathered. He
And the
looks
aging is okay. because
He
the
looks
character's
great.
been sitting there the whole time. So even if he looks older, the character is going to look older.
He looks and sounds great. And Michael Keaton is such a smart actor. Like when he did the return as Batman in The Flash, like that was really the only good part of that movie. They didn't even do a good job of lighting him or anything like Tim Burton would do. He knew how to bring Batman back the right way. It wasn't like we were saying about Glen Powell. It wasn't just let me collect my paycheck and I'll put this mask on. He really did a good job bringing back the Batman we used to love. Now he's back with Burton for a character they created together. He is going to crush this. I am very confident. I know it's not a good idea to go in overhyped on sequels, but for this one, I'm with you. I'm very excited for this. I think we should go see this one.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm overhyped. Especially
I'm
Danny
overhyped, too.
Danny Elfman is like one of my favorite composers.
His music is he just has one of those sounds that's just so good. All right. So next we have a franchise I wouldn't say is up there for me, but I've seen I think the first two. I don't know if I said the last one, but Bad Boys Ride or Die. The final trailer came out. The movie comes out next weekend.
Is this the first movie with Will Smith after the slap?
That's a good question. I was thinking about that. I was actually going to ask you that. I don't know.
I think it is. I think this is his first movie post Oscars slap.
Do you like the Bad Boys movies?
I've seen them. I remember I had a friend in high school who used to watch them all the time. So like anytime I went over his house, he always had them on. It was like one of his comfort films. But I wouldn't say they're like something I have to watch all the time or like they're absolutely amazing. I'd say they're fun popcorn movies. You know, there's something that like if they were on TV and I was switching through channels, I might watch a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell you this movie probably has a great soundtrack because this movie is so dependent on its soundtrack to like really get those fun scenes and like car chases and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm interested to see how this press run goes with Will Smith because he's banned from the Oscars, so he's got kind of this bad boys to play with the words here view with everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is interesting. I used to really like Will Smith. I feel like I'm all set with Will Smith right now.
He was at Coachella. He did the Men in Black song at Coachella.
I see. You know what he's doing? He wrapped himself probably around with a gigantic, massively expensive PR firm, and they're like, make people remember what they love about you. And he's like,
connect with Gen Z who aren't going to judge you yet. Yeah.
So he's like, oh, if I go back to being, Big Willie style 1990s where everybody loved Will Smith, number
Fresh
one
Prince,
movie star, number one albums, all that stuff, they'll love me again. They'll forget about the slap. I'm not going to get over that. Like, I will never forget watching Chris Rock. Chris Rock didn't say a damn thing about it until he got to do his special. And he unloaded on Will Smith. And I was so happy that he did. That is one of the most like disgraceful things I have ever seen. And I don't know that I got over that. Like that is unhinged, psychotic behavior.
I'm definitely against any time someone feels the need to put their hands on someone else. Like that's just one of the things you don't do. Like you don't touch other people.
First.
Okay.
Like if Will Smith slapped me, I would have fought him right on that stage. You kidding me?
You would have fought Will Smith?
Yeah, I would have given him a stone cold stunner. Maybe slap him in the sharpshooter, make him tap out on stage. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I'd be too shocked to do anything. I'd probably start crying.
If someone hits me, my eyes will roll back in my head and I will just start going after them like that. Absolutely not.
But I'm saying I'm against any of that to begin with. Like, I don't think anybody should ever hit anybody else.
I agree. I completely agree with that. Yeah. But then Chris Rock like really just gave it to him. And I'm always going to side with Chris Rock on that whole thing. So it just, it left a bad taste in my mouth. I didn't love this franchise enough. So I doubt I'm going to go see it in theaters. But I'll tell you what, they got the same crew making this from the last one. It's actually, again, we just talked about them, RB and Falah. They made Bad Boys 3 for $90 million. It made almost $500 million. Very profitable. This one, it says the budget's also $90 million. I bet it's still going to make a lot of money. I bet a lot of people either forgot about the Oscars, didn't pay attention to it. They just see Bad Boys
Or
4.
they don't
I like
care.
the other 3. Yeah, I think it's going to do really well. I think it's going to be well received. I think it'll do well, and good for them. But
And these directors are up supposedly to take over the mantle for Spider-Man because John Watts left to do Skeleton Crew.
Right.
These guys are being eyed to take over Spider-Man.
I will say good for them, but probably not for me. Now this next one's for Netflix. Another cop movie with
Nostalgia
humor
movie
that predates Bad Boys. I think Bad Boys was probably even inspired by this. Beverly Hills Cop is back. Eddie Murphy is back as Alex Foley in the 4th Beverly Hills Cops movie. The first one is a classic, absolute classic. The sequel's not as much because it really was one of those situations where it's like, how can we write a story to get this Detroit cop to go back to LA again? That's basically like, but they keep trying to come up with these things. Now, in this one, apparently the story is his like daughter gets threatened. And I like that sort of like justice revenge stuff. And I love Eddie Murphy. And it looks good. It looks like it has a lot of big action. And it also looks like it captures that feel of 80s, 90s action. So I'm in on this one. And it's, I believe, for Netflix. So you don't even have to leave home for it. And I'm a Eddie Murphy fan. So I'm going to check this out. Now, you're not a big Beverly Hills Cop fan, though, right?
I've never seen it before.
Okay. One day maybe
Question,
check out
though.
the first one.
What? Yeah, what happened to Eddie Murphy? Didn't he like disappear?
I wouldn't say he disappeared. I think he sort of faded a bit. His star faded a bit. But he's gone through that a couple times. Like in the early 90s, I'll never forget. David Spade used to do this bit on SNL on Weekend Update where he would do snarky things about celebrities. And one of the most like, oh my God, he just did that things was because Eddie Murphy used to be on SNL years before David Spade. A picture comes up, you know how like on the news, there's the thumbnail of the person or whatever that they're talking about. A picture comes up of Eddie Murphy and David Spade goes, "Look, kids, a dying star, make a wish." And this was in like, this was in like the early 90s. And then Eddie Murphy explodes again with Nutty Professor, Bowfinger, and he's like making.
I remember Nutty Professor.
Again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he came back in a big way.
And then he did Shrek.
And then Chris Farley died, and David Spade's career sort of went a little on the snide until Adam Sandler's like, "I'll put you in all my stuff." And the irony about Shrek is Eddie Murphy was in Shrek. Chris Farley was supposed to be Shrek.
I know.
And he died. Yeah. But this, and then he faded again, and he made another comeback, and he's like back again. He's I think he's gonna be doing stand up again. So Eddie Murphy's back. He looks great for his age. I'm gonna check this out. I think people should check it out because it can't be worse than Beverly Hills Cop 3. And at the very least, you're getting to see a little throwback of Eddie Murphy doing some old school stuff, and it should be pretty funny. They even brought back Bronson Pinchot, who was in the original, the guy who played Balky from Perfect Strangers. All the OGs are back in this one. Judge Reinhold. It's going to be fun. I'm going to check it out. You don't have to go to the theaters. You don't have to drive, spend a ton of money. Go check it out.
Yeah. I do miss Charlie Murphy, though.
Oh, yeah. Charlie Murphy.
Charlie Murphy. Those are my favorite skits from Chappelle Show. Is the Charlie Murphy, like, Prince game blouses.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I die every time. What happened after that? Oh, he took us inside and made us pancakes. So funny.
And apparently that whole story is true.
They're all true. Yeah.
Insane.
And then Charlie Murphy went on a radio show after that, and they were asking about that story. And he said he was in Las Vegas and Prince was there, and he was at like a concert for Prince, and Prince came over to him and saw him and like played and like made it look like this, and then like kept walking to Charlie Murphy. Like it became this thing that like it was like a known thing because of the Dave Chappelle skit.
I'm sad they're both dead. I love Prince. I like
know.
Charlie Murphy.
That skit though is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Absolutely. I mean, Dave Chappelle is one of the greatest stand-up comics of all time. And
Game
that show, yeah, Chappelle Show. I mean, that came out when I was in college, I think.
Yeah,
that thing exploded. Talk about things that are everywhere.
Just left. He was like,
yeah.
Bye.
All right, last one here. We did get one more Deadpool Wolverine sort of trailery thing, but it was about when the tickets went on sale.
We got to get tickets, by the way.
You and I have talked about this. We're gonna go see it, but what'd you think of this last one here? This Deadpool Wolverine teaser about tickets going on sale.
I think it's doing the same thing that the previous one did, which is finding some 90s song and it's Madonna. And then which makes me think that this movie takes place in the 90s. I feel like they go back in time and this movie takes place in the 90s.
Oh, interesting.
Because they keep playing 90s music
Mm-hmm.
in these trailers, and that seems like such a specific detail. I did like that this trailer had the QR code in it, right? That then went to the disclaimer from Ryan Reynolds.
I did it.
Yes, I think it did. It was hidden
Okay.
in the background of the trailer where they kind of walk out, and there's a QR code. And if you clicked on the QR code, it then went to Ryan Reynolds giving the movie disclaimer that someone had filmed,
Oh,
where he was
yes.
just like saying all these things. And then at the end, he's like, "This is cinema."
Oh, yeah.
It was like one of the funniest. Look, Ryan Reynolds is funny. I found it interesting that this past week, TJ Miller was on some podcast saying how Ryan Reynolds has changed since he became Deadpool and he's like not the same guy he was and like all this other stuff, which might be true. But at the same time, you can't look at the success of Deadpool and how Ryan Reynolds like blew up overnight and not think he's going to stay the same person.
Yeah, and TJ Miller needs to pipe down because he
He's
has his
also-
own baggage.
Wasn't
Like,
he the guy that like was on a train here in New Haven and like made a bomb threat against someone or something, or like he was hitting on a girl and she said like leave me alone, and he was like this girl has a gun or something on the train and like got into a ton of problems about it.
I know he was. I mean, I don't want to speak to it too much because we don't know, but I know he was wrapped up in potential abuse allegations or something.
Ugh.
I don't know if those are real or not. Like, whatever. But like, if you have your own sort of baggage, like, don't start spouting off about an actor that you don't get along with anymore because he's making a ton of money. Like, it's just a bad look,
Yeah.
But my only last thought on Deadpool Wolverine is I do hope we get some arc or at least some deep scenes with Wolverine in this because Logan was so deep in that way. I hope it's not just the Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman jokey thing the whole time. And I know you brought up you don't think
The
so. 'Cause Sean
bromance.
Levy. Yeah. I
But
hope
yeah,
there
Sean
is.
Levy's doing it. So I feel
Yeah.
like there is some heart to it. Sean Levy's specifically known for doing movies that have heart and moments that have heart in TV shows. Like Stranger Things or the Adam Project, which he did recently.
If this movie does as well as it's expected to and it's really good, I really hope this dude gets to make his Star Wars movie.
Yes, golden ticket, as he said. I
Yeah.
hope so too.
And he seems like such a genuine dude in interviews too. Very likable.
Mhm.
All right. So that is it for trailer time. So Lacey, what's our last segment?
We can never leave the house and would just probably sit around all weekend and watch TV.
Go on.
So, what are you watching?
Lacey, what I'm watching is I was actually trying to think of like, did I watch something new since last week? And I don't know that I have, but I have a bunch of things that I do want to watch. I am going to still continue watching Fallout.
Mhm.
I want to watch this show called School Spirits
Mm.
on Netflix. It's with the blonde girl from Cobra Kai. And I guess the premise is this girl dies and she's a ghost and she has to like
Peyton?
find out what happened to her.
Isn't her name Peyton, the actress?
School Spirits. Her name is Peyton List. Yes. Yep. She plays
So
like
what's the premise of this?
she plays like the bad girl in Cobra Kai.
Yeah, what's the premise of this
it's
show?
about a teen girl who's trapped in the afterlife and she has to investigate her own disappearance. So it sounds
like
a little Lovely Bones. Sounds
yes.
a little bit, yeah. But it's I think it's a little bit lighter. It says it's a drama mystery, but it looked interesting. I think it's on Paramount Plus though, so I'm not sure if I don't think I have that one, but I'm gonna figure out how to check it out anyway.
It did. It sounded just like Lovely Bones. You know what's wild about Lovely Bones is that Ryan Gosling was supposed to play Stanley Tucci's character.
What?
Yeah, and he gained all this weight for it and was going to play that role, and then they turned him down, and so he had gained all this weight for nothing, and then they gave it to
my
Stanley
God.
Tucci.
Stanley Tucci was so effing good in that movie.
I know. Stanley Tucci's good in everything.
He
Remember
is.
remember during the pandemic when he was just doing cocktail recipes on his Instagram
Oh,
and
yeah.
everyone was, like, losing it? That
Yeah.
was so
No, I
funny.
like him too. Yeah, so
Um,
the other thing I wanna watch, I'm gonna check out is, Tires, the Shane Gillis on Netflix.
I saw a preview for that, and
Yeah,
I feel like people hate Shane Gillis. Am I making that up?
here's the thing with Shane Gillis and a lot of comedians today is they are comedians, so they say lowbrow things, they say non-PC things in the realm of stand-up comedy, and they're not like far left with their politics. They're either in the middle of the road, some lean a little right, but I think comedians are like there's this weird fraternity of comedians it seems that feel like they're almost under attack in a weird way where they can't be comedians anymore. And
But
they're
wasn't
like
he fired from SNL?
he was fired from SNL for old like he's made some old he did like an old offensive I don't quote me on this. He
Mm,
said some things like he did like a Chinese impression that was,
mm,
not well received or whatever. But then you
mhm.
see him with like Bobby Lee, and Bobby Lee makes fun of his own self. I don't know. He got fired from SNL, but SNL brought him back to host.
That's the
So
weird thing. I remember
yeah,
that. Yeah, I remember
and
that.
they did that to Norm Macdonald too. He's like,
Yeah.
I didn't. Norm Macdonald's famous line: "I didn't get funnier. The show got worse, and that's why I'm here hosting."
I miss
So
Norm. I said it
rest
the
in
other
peace,
day.
Norm.
I miss
Freaking
Norm.
love Norm Macdonald.
He's so
But
funny.
anyway, the preview doesn't look great, but I'm gonna give it a shot because one, it's on Netflix, and two, I do like Shane Gillis. We actually bought tickets. We're gonna go see him in August.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give it a shot. And I do think he's funny. I actually do think he's an earnest guy. I just think sometimes comedians get a lot of crap from people because they, stand-up comedy does have a lot of offensive stuff or non-PC stuff, and we live in this world where people really don't want to hear any of that. But comedy's always had that, and I don't mind comics sort of standing up for their art because a lot of times they say that stuff to bring attention in a good way to a lot of things. So I'm gonna give that one a shot. But
Interesting.
yeah. Have you watched anything new lately? And is there anything that you haven't
I
watched that's on your radar?
I got through the first part of Bridgerton season 3 that everybody's been
Ah,
talking about. Uh, it is racy. It is very intimate, and everyone says that the last episode of this part, the last scene is probably one of the most intense scenes that they've done in recent years. Um, but everybody loved it. I thought it was good. It was entertaining. There was a couple moments that were a little silly. Like there's this hot air balloon scene where the main I'm not even kidding you. There's the main character, right? In this season, Penelope. She's on the other side of this hot air balloon and it's kind of strapped down and the thing gets loose and like her man has to run up and like grab the rope and be like, "I've got it," and so she doesn't get hit by it, but this thing is moving, like, incredibly slow because it's a hot air balloon, and she's just like it's kind of like the scene from Austin Powers where they're on the steamroller.
Michael McDonald?
Yes, and they're like, "Just get out just get out of the way.
No!
Just just move," and it's like this wide shot. Like, that's what it was, so I was sitting there, and all I could think about
That
was
means
that
like this?
Austin
Ah!
and all I could think about was that scene, and it just took me right out. I was like, "This is so," and she's just like, "Oh, oh no, oh."
Wait, what'd she have to do? Just jump out of the basket?
She kept no, she was so the hot air balloon basket was on a platform, right? She's on this side of the platform on the ground standing, and then he's on the other side of the platform talking to some dudes, like, doing a dude chat, and so the balloon gets loose, and it starts to fly towards her, and instead of, moving left or right, she just keeps walking backwards.
Oh
So,
my
that's why
god.
I'm, like, thinking of the "No, no," and they're like, just get
That's
Just
Wow. Scathing review of Bridgerton.
but I enjoyed it. If you accept it for what it is, which is, a period romantic piece, it's not earth-shattering. Just supposed to be a fun watch. Then that's what it is. And I like how they take popular songs now and give them like a classical remix. So during the very intimate scene at the end of this part, they do a Pitbull song in like strings. Like a string remix. Oh, it's so good. It's so funny.
Lord.
But so I watched that. I have a lot going on in my regular life right now with like a house remodel and stuff. So that's all I've really gotten to watch besides kids shows like Coco Melon and Gabby's Dollhouse and
Oh yeah.
yeah, all of those. But I
Oh.
do want to keep up with Fallout. So I'm on episode 2. I got to get to episode 3 next. I'm trying to break
All right,
it up.
I'll catch up too.
I'm doing
talk-
the weekly watch. Yeah.
Let's do a Fallout. Let's try to watch. How many are out by the time we record next?
I don't know, but I don't have. It's Memorial Day weekend. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. I don't know if I'm gonna have time to watch more than one episode this week, but
No,
I'm trying to get ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying throughout the week. we can probably-
And then also we have Acolyte coming next week. Shout out Star Wars.
Star
So
Wars
we'll
Acolyte.
put them up.
June 4th. I'm very excited for that.
So we'll be going into detail about that, of course, on TRB, the Resistance broadcast. But yeah, I haven't really gotten anything lately. Oh, the other thing I'm watching right now, which I don't know if this qualifies as like a TV watch. It's more of an internet YouTube watch, which I feel like is kind of a what you're watching. I was digging into that Jenny Nicholson 4-hour Star Cruiser video on YouTube that's been trending that everybody's been talking about.
Yeah.
And so I was like, let me see what everybody's talking about because it's got like 3.4 million views in 2 days. Like ridiculous, bonkers. So she did an amazing job of breaking down step by step how it failed, the Star Cruiser, which is the Star Wars hotel for people that don't know what the Star Cruiser is, which is one of the points she makes is that Disney has all these names for everything instead of just
we said it was gonna bomb when they announced it.
Right. So one of the arguments she makes is, why does Disney try so hard to get all these weird names when you could just call it the Star Wars Hotel? So then you have everybody calling it the Star Wars Hotel, but that's not the name of it. But anyway, she goes into great detail of like from her own experience of going, and she paid like $6,300 to go, but then it didn't unlock all these other different opportunities that you could have paid for. And then like she's going through all these things, and I'm thinking like, wow, so many people went on this multiple times and paid so much money, which if you want to do that, like your money, you do you.
And a lot of people loved it, but
and they
not
loved
enough.
it, but I'm surprised she didn't because she seems like the type of person that would love it. But it's just interesting to hear her break down the marketing and like how Disney removed videos about it online and basically erased its presence. But I just appreciate the work that goes into videos like that because you have to do all the research, you have to get all the clips together. Not only your own experiences, she's building out kind of a case study of why this didn't work and how she was a piece of it, but not a bigger piece. And also how she's, an influencer with a large audience, but when she had issues, she would complain through the proper channels, like calling Disney, and they'd be like, no refund. But then when she'd tweet about it and be like, hey, this sucks, they'd then reach out to her and give her a refund.
Yeah.
But then she'd go into fan groups and people would have the same problems and they'd get no luck because they had no audience.
No platform.
So
Yeah,
it's also like kind of a magnifying glass on the influencer creator space and how companies treat those people compared to the regular customer. So it was very interesting. I'm 1/4 through. I'm an hour in.
I may check some of it out. We'll see.
Yeah.
Or I'll take the recap from you. Yeah, we'll go that way.
It's interesting.
But either way, good stuff. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of the show. So thanks everybody for getting nerdy with us. Mondays are for the nerds. So thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed your weekend, and we hope you're kicking off this next week with some good laughs and good times as we talked about everything going on in entertainment, pop culture, movie, TV, all that stuff. So thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you do subscribe to the podcast on your preferred podcast app, whether that's Apple or Spotify. Those are the two big ones. We are popping up on other spots as well. And of course, our TRB YouTube channel, youtube.com/TRB at TRB Podcasts. However you take in the show, whether you're watching it or listening, spread the word. If you have friends who, you have those water cooler conversations at work. I don't know if people still go to offices. I personally do not. I work from home. But you talk to people at work anyway about movies and all that stuff. Let them know about the podcast if you're enjoying it, because it actually is cooler to be able to share your experience about a podcast when you have friends who also listen to it. So we appreciate all the support. And of course, follow us on social media at Nerdy and Nice Pod on most apps. And of course, the Resistance Broadcast, our Star Wars podcast, is going live this Thursday, 8:30 East. And that's also on its own podcast feed. Just look up the Resistance Broadcast if you like Star Wars. And that show will be going live starting on June 5th on Wednesday nights once The Acolyte comes out. We do want to give a special shout out to our patrons, our TRB patrons at patreon.com/TRB podcast. Look, if you're new to Nerdy and Nice, and this is how you found us, we have exclusive content over on our Patreon page, and that's the best way to support us and help us grow. So go to patreon.com/TRB podcast, and tiers start at just $5. We already have an exclusive video coming out this week on what, Lacey? What did we talk about? Stranger Things?
Stranger Things, yep. And I realized I also have a video from the previous week that got pushed a little bit, so we're going to get double the dose.
Double dose. Yeah, we talked about Eddie Munson, the potential future of Eddie Munson, if at all. Stranger Things, that's exclusive to Patreon, and a lot more, including...
Is that what he does?
Like that. I'll turn you into a metalhead one day. But
I'm talking about Pitbull classical music, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to turn you into a metalhead.
Whatever.
Din, 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 din.
Hey, some metal uses violins. But anyway, all of our exclusive TRB stuff is over there as well. So check it out. And thanks for the support. And a special shout out to our movie star generals and silver screen spice runners: Carmelo, John Reese, Jetta Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, Brian Smith, Danny, Mike Ramori, Brendan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra, Dave Hornack, Jolton Jedi DiMaggio, and Colin Cormier. And the spice runners: David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gellner, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, and the Fort Worthian. And anyone who listens and supports us, thank you all so much. Lacey, where can people find you?
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gillerin, and rewatching that Austin Powers scene right after this.
Excellent.
No!
All right. And for me, at Johnny Hoey on X, and I have a movie podcast, Just Like the Movies, and we're putting out an episode on Point Break this week if you want to check that out. And of course, me and Lacey will be with you on TRB, the Resistance Broadcast, Thursday night for TRB Live, which is always a good time. So that's it for us. Thanks for getting nerdy with us. And until next time, here on Nerdy and Nice, we'll see you around, kids.